Bimpe buried her husband's destiny with her own hands and thought she got away with it. But what happened next? No one saw coming. There was a time when the Adeyemi compound smelt like good living. Fresh pepper soup on Friday nights. The sound of a generator humming without apology. New school shoes for little Tunde every September. 2 pairs, one for weekdays, one for church. Lekan Adeyemi was not a billionaire, but he was the kind of man whose neighbors watched when he drove in at night. His car was not the biggest on the street, but it was his, paid for with clean money. He worked at a construction firm downtown, senior supervisor. He left the house before 6 every morning and returned after 8 most nights. The work was heavy, the responsibility was real, but the money came, and when the money came, Lekan did not forget his home. His wife, Bimpe, had everything she needed. Market money every week. Asoebi fabric when there was an occasion. A gas cooker that had never run out of gas in 3 years. She did not work. She did not need to. Lekan had said it himself. Your job is this house and our son. That is enough. And for a while, Bimpe believed it was enough too. It started with Ngozi. Ngozi was Bimpe's closest friend. They had known each other since secondary school. They gossiped together, prayed together, cooked together on Saturdays when the children played in the yard. Then one evening, Ngozi came to Bimpe's house with red eyes and a wrapper tied too tight around her chest. He married another one, Ngozi said, just like that, without even warning me. Bimpe held her friend and said all the right things. She was angry on Ngozi's behalf. She cursed the man. She said no real man does that. But something else happened inside Bimpe that night. Something she did not confess to anyone. Fear. Not for Ngozi, for herself. She drove home in her head that night and she looked at her own life with new eyes. Lekan was handsome. He had money. He came home late almost every night. What was stopping him? What was really stopping him? She began to watch. At first, she was quiet about it. She would check his phone when he was in the bathroom. She memorized the names in his call log. She started asking questions that sounded like conversation, but were really interrogations. Who was that woman at the office party? Why did you smile when you answered that call? Why are you always tired when you come home to me, but not too tired to work 12 hours? Lekan answered every question, calmly at first, then with frustration, then with silence. He was not cheating. There was no other woman. He had simply married a woman who had decided he was guilty before any crime was committed. He tried everything. He came home earlier. He started calling her from the office at lunchtime. He brought suya on random nights just because she liked it. He even took 2 weeks off work to stay home with her. Nothing worked. Bimpe had already made up her mind. She had decided that it was a matter of time, and in her heart, she had already started planning.
There is a road behind the market in that town. Most people do not take it during the day. At night, no one goes there alone. But Bimpe went. She had heard about the man through a chain of whispers she would later pretend she had never followed. A woman told a woman, who told another woman, who told Bimpe in a low voice one afternoon, "He can fix anything. He fixed my husband. My husband has not looked at another woman in 11 years. Bimpe went 3 times before she finally walked in. The first 2 times, she stood at the entrance of the road and turned back. The 3rd time, she did not let herself think. She just walked. The compound was small and set back from the road, hidden behind an old mango tree whose roots had broken through the ground like fingers reaching for air. There was no signboard, no light outside, just a clay pot sitting at the entrance with something dark and dry caked around its mouth. Inside, the shrine was one room. The walls were the color of smoke. There were things hanging from the ceiling, bundles of dried leaves, feathers bound with thread. The man himself was not what she expected. He was not old. He was perhaps 50, with a lean face and eyes that did not blink as often as they should. He wore a simple white sokoto and a wrapper across his shoulder. No theatrics, no dramatic entrance. He was just sitting there when she came, like he had been waiting. He gestured to the mat across from him. She sat. For a moment, neither of them spoke. He looked at her the way a market woman looks at fabric, assessing, unhurried. Then he said,
Talk.
Talk. Bimpe swallowed. She had rehearsed words on the way here. All of them disappeared. Baba, she started.
I am here because of my husband.
The priest said nothing.
My husband is a good man. He takes care of me. He takes care of our son. He has not done anything wrong.
Yet,
the man repeated, just the one word, flat, like he was confirming an order.
My mind is not at peace. I keep having this feeling like he will abandon me when he gets more comfortable than this.
She looked at her hands. He works long hours. He comes home late. And I have been thinking, a man with money, a man who is comfortable, who is out of the house all day, Baba, you know how these things go.
what do you want?
The priest asked. His voice had no color in it. No judgment, no warmth either. It was simply a question, like asking what cut of meat you preferred. Bimpe looked up.
I want my husband to be poor. I want him to stop having money. That way he won't be able to marry another wife, even if the idea crossed his mind.
She said. The words came out cleaner than she expected. My husband is rich, and I am scared. If he has money, he will marry another wife. I have seen it happen.
My friend's husband just did it. Just like that, without warning. I am not going to sit and wait for it to happen to me.
She pressed her palms flat against her thighs. If he is poor, he cannot afford another woman. If he is struggling, he will need me. He will stay. The priest looked at her for a long moment.
You want to cut his feet so he cannot walk away.
I want to keep my home. I want to keep my home.
He almost smiled. Not quite. It is the same thing, he said. He stood and moved to the back of the room. He came back with a small parcel, brown paper folded tight, tied with a thread the color of rust. He placed it in front of her.
Put this in his food, not all at once, small over 3 days. And then his luck would turn. He said it simply, the way a mechanic describes what will happen after a repair. What he builds will fall. What he reaches for will move. The money will not stay in his hands. Bimpe stared at the parcel. Then the priest reached behind him again. He brought out a second thing, smaller than the first. It was wrapped in dark cloth and tied with a thin cord. It fit in the center of a palm. He set it beside the brown parcel without ceremony. What is that? Bimpe asked. His destiny, the priest said. Take it to the forest. Dig a hole, not too deep, not too shallow. Put it in, cover it, walk away and do not look back. She stared at the small wrapped thing.
And if I do that?
His destiny will wander. It will look for him and never find him. Every door that should open will stay shut. Every road that should lead somewhere will circle back to nothing.
He named his price. She paid without negotiating. She went home. She cooked his food. She added what she was told to add. She went to the forest 2 nights later. She told Lekon she was visiting a friend. She wore flat shoes and tied her wrapper low. She carried the small dark parcel in her bandhag pressed against her side like she was afraid it would move on its own. The forest was not large, but it was dark enough. She pushed past the first line of trees until the road noise behind her faded. The ground was soft from 2 days of rain. She found a spot between 2 old roots, and she dug with a short stick, then with her bare hands. She did not let herself think about what she was burying. She placed the parcel in the hole. She covered it with the dark soil, pressing it down with both palms. She stood up. She walked back toward the road without looking back, just as she had been told. She stepped out of the forest and back onto the lit street like a woman returning from an ordinary errand. She did not think about what she was doing, or rather, she thought about it and she did it anyway. She told herself it was love. She told herself this was the only way to protect her marriage. She told herself that if Lekan ever found out, he would understand. It did not happen in one day. The first sign was small. Lekan's contract renewal at the firm did not go through. His boss, who had always liked him, suddenly found reasons to question his work. Small errors were amplified. His name was removed from a project he had built from scratch. He was confused. He worked harder. He stayed even later. Then he was let go. He came home that evening and sat in the living room without turning on the light. Bimpe found him there. She sat beside him. She held his hand. She said, "Don't worry. God is in control." Inside, something in her relaxed. He tried to start his own thing, a small construction consulting business. He got 2 clients. Then both of them cancelled. He borrowed money to try again. The money disappeared into nothing. Bad luck, failed deals, partners who ran away with his funds. He tried and tried and tried. The money stopped. The generator stopped. The gas cooker went quiet. Tunde's school shoes were now bought from the roadside stall. Lekan became a shadow of himself.
When a man falls, you learn who is really in the house with him. Bimpe's mask came off slowly. First, it was small comments. "Ah, a man of your age and you cannot provide," said with a laugh that was not a laugh. Then it became open. She stopped cooking his food separately. She started speaking to him in the tone you use for a houseboy. She compared him to other men in the neighborhood. She listed his failures like a woman reciting a school timetable. And then she started giving him tasks. Wash the clothes, scrub the bathroom, go and buy pepper, and wash my things, all of them. I am tired. The neighbors heard. The walls in that compound were thin. Lekan said nothing for a long time. He absorbed it. He told himself it was frustration. He told himself she was struggling too. He told himself a real man does not break. But the day came. It was a Tuesday. Lekan had returned from another failed attempt at a business meeting. He was tired in the way that goes past the body, the kind of tired that sits behind the eyes and makes everything look far away. He had not eaten since morning. He came through the door quietly, set his bag down quietly, and sat on the kitchen stool. He looked at Bimpe. Is there food? She looked at him the way you look at something that has disappointed you one too many times.
Are you not the one who was supposed to buy food? You went out. What did you bring back? Air.
He said nothing. He stood up and turned toward the bedroom. She moved in front of him.
I'm tired, Bimpe.
You're tired. What exactly did you do today that tired you? Which meeting? Which contract?
Please, not tonight.
Every night you say not tonight. 4 years, Lekan. 4 years and this house is still empty.
I know how long it has been.
Then act like it. Act like a man who is ashamed. Because I am ashamed. I am ashamed to tell people what is happening inside this house.
I am trying. Every day I leave this house and I try. You know that.
Your own son is embarrassed to say your name at school because his father cannot buy him decent shoes. His father cannot buy him a proper lunch.
Stop.
His father goes from office to office like a beggar and comes home with...
Stop. Bimpe, I said stop.
You don't get to tell me what to do.
She slapped him. The sound was flat and sharp in the small kitchen. Lekan stood very still. His hand went to his cheek slowly, like he was making sure what had just happened was real. He looked at her, not with anger, with something that was past anger. Something that had no name but felt very final.
I'm leaving. I'm taking Tunde. We'll go to Kelvin's tonight and I'll figure the rest out from there.
You are not going anywhere with my son.
Tunde is my son too.
To go and do what? Sleep on Kelvin's floor? You have nothing, Lekan. You cannot even...
I know I have nothing. I close my eyes and I know. I don't need you to stand in front of me every day and remind me.
Then do something about it. Instead of standing in my kitchen and crying.
Get out of my way, Bimpe.
You are not walking out of this house.
He moved past her. She grabbed his shirt from behind, both hands, the fabric bunching in her fists, and pulled him backward.
You think you can just leave? After everything I have suffered in this house? After everything,
Let go of me.
you are not working out.
He was trying to pull free, his voice low and strained. He twisted sharply to break her grip. She shoved him. It was not a dramatic push. It was sharp and sudden, the kind that happens in 1 second, the kind that cannot be taken back once it leaves the hands. Lecon's foot caught the edge of the raised kitchen step behind him. He went down hard. The back of his head connected with the concrete corner of the low kitchen wall. The sound was terrible. Lecon?
Lekan?
He did not answer.
Lekan.
Lecon?
Get up.
Her voice was rising now, losing its shape. Get up! He did not move. A dark stain began to spread beneath his head, slow and setting, finding the grooves between the floor tiles. She stood over him, and she did not scream for help. She did not run to the door, or pound on the wall, or do any of the things a person does when something terrible has just happened by accident. She just stood there, breathing, her chest rising and falling, her mind moving somewhere cold and practical in the silence. Then, small footsteps came from the bedroom. Tunde appeared in the corridor doorway, rubbing his eyes the way children do when sleep has been disturbed by something they don't yet understand. He saw his father on the floor. "Daddy." Bimpe crossed to him fast. She grabbed his shoulders and turned him around. "Go back inside." "Why is Daddy on the floor?" "Mommy, why is there?" "Tunde, go inside." She pushed him back toward the bedroom and pulled the corridor door shut behind her. She returned to Lekon. She knelt beside him. She pressed 2 fingers to his neck the way she had once seen someone do. There was a pulse, faint, but there. She sat back on her heels, and she waited. The clock on the kitchen wall read 9:47 p.m. She sat in that kitchen for 32 minutes. The pulse went from faint to fainter to nothing, while she arranged her story in her head, tested the shape of it, made sure it sounded like the right kind of accident. At 10:19 p.m. she called. Her voice was steady. "He slipped," she said. "Please come quickly." She gave her voice just enough panic to be convincing. By the time the ambulance arrived, the pulse was gone. The neighbors had heard everything. Old Mama Deola lived in the Face Me and Face You directly behind the Adeyemi kitchen wall. Her window had been open all evening because of the heat. She had been listening since the argument began, not because she wanted to, but because the walls were thin and the voices were not. When the slap came, she picked up her phone. She was not sure why. Something in her hands made the decision before her mind did. She had been recording for 10 minutes when the crash came. She recorded the silence after. She recorded the child's voice asking about the blood. She did not know what to do with what she had. She was afraid of police stations, afraid of courts, afraid of what a woman like Bimpe might do to a neighbor who did not mind her own business. She was old and she lived alone, and she had learned a long time ago that getting involved in other people's trouble was how you ended up with trouble of your own. She told no one. She kept the recording. For 17 years, she kept it.
The official story was short. Lekan Adeyemi slept in the kitchen. He hit his head. He died before the ambulance arrived. The doctor who came was not suspicious. There were no marks on the body beyond the head wound. Bimpe was crying. The neighbors were crying. Little Tunde, who was 7 years old, stood in the corridor in his school uniform and did not cry. He did not understand what had happened to his father. The funeral was quiet. A few people from the firm came, some family members. Lekan's mother held Tunde and wept. Bimpe wore the expected clothes. She said the expected things. And then she buried him. Bimpe raised Tunde alone. In truth, the boy raised himself. He was serious in school. He did not play the way other children played. He had seen something at 7 years old that children should not see, and it had pressed him flat in a way he could not explain. He worked hard because he was afraid of being poor,
He worked harder because he was afraid of becoming nothing, like his father had become in the end. He did not know the full truth yet. He won a scholarship at 16. He left for university. He came back different, taller, quieter, with eyes that stayed on things longer than was comfortable. He built something, an engineering consultancy, small at first, then not small at all. By 31, Tunde Adeyemi had money and reputation and a name that was starting to mean something in the industry. Bimpe was delighted. Now, she told herself, now I will enjoy. She moved into his new house in Lekki. She took the biggest guest room. She started hosting her friends there on weekends, showing them the marble floors and the tall windows and the view of the water. She spoke about her son the way people speak about an investment that has finally paid out. She had forgotten the beginning. Or perhaps she had buried it so deep that it felt like someone else's story. Mama Adeola died at 82. In the weeks before she died, she called her daughter to her side and she told her something. She gave her a small memory card. She said,
I have been carrying this for 17 years. I cannot carry it to the grave. What is it, Mama? Find the boy. Find Tunde. Give it to him. I will, Mama. I promise.
Her daughter found Tunde through the internet, through LinkedIn of all places. She sent him a message. He almost ignored it, but something about the words, I have something that belongs to your father's story, made him call her back.
He sat in his car outside her house in Mushin for 20 minutes before he went in. She handed him the phone. He watched it standing in a small sitting room. The sound came first. His mother's voice, sharp and cold and unmistakable. Then his father's voice, tired, careful, asking her to stop. Then the slap. Then the struggle. Then the crash. Then silence. Then his mother screaming. Tunde put the phone down on the woman's center table. He sat down. He did not speak for a long time. Tunde standing.
My father washed her clothes. Her clothes. He swept the house. He apologized for being poor, a poverty she caused. He died apologizing for something she did to him. He was protecting me from the truth and it killed him.
He did not go to the police first. He went to a lawyer. Then he went to a technician who verified the recording. Timestamp intact. Metadata clean. 17 years old. No edits. Then he went home. He sat at dinner with his mother that night. She talked about a new kitchen she wanted installed. She complained about one of her cousins. She laughed at something on her phone and turned it to show him. He watched her face. He thought about his father sitting in a dark living room without turning on the light. He thought about school shoes from a roadside store. He thought about his 7-year-old boy in a school uniform standing in a corridor, not knowing what death meant. He went to the police the next morning. They came with equipment. They wired him before he left the station. A small device, lightweight. He drove home. The housekeeper had gone. The compound was empty. He made tea. He brought it to where she sat on the veranda, watching the last of the daylight on the water. He sat beside her. He started gently. He talked about his father. He said he had been thinking about him lately. He said he missed him. Bimpe shifted in her chair.
Your father was a good man. He just had bad luck.
Is that what happened to him?
What kind of question is that?
I just mean, you were there. You saw everything. What really happened the day he died?
He slipped.
Did he?
Tunde, why are you asking me this?
He let the silence sit. She picked up her teacup, put it down.
He was always falling, in every way. He could not hold anything. His job, his money, even himself.
Is that why you fought that day?
Who told you we fought?
Did you?
Another silence. And then, because she was in her son's house, because she thought she was safe, because 17 years had made her comfortable, she spoke. Not everything, but enough. She said she had only been trying to make him listen. She said he was always walking away. She said she had grabbed his shirt because she needed him to stay and talk to her for once. She said she did not mean for him to fall. She did not say she was sorry. She said,
What happened, happened. He is gone. There is nothing to be done now.
Tunde stood up. He walked to the door. He opened it. The officers came in.
She looked at her son's face as they put the handcuffs on. She said his name. Once. Twice. She said, "Tunde, what is this? Tunde?" He did not answer her. He stood by the wall and he watched them lead her out. His face was not angry. It was not satisfied. It was the face of a man who has done something that cannot be undone, and who knows it needed to be done anyway. The gate closed behind her. He stood on the veranda where she had been sitting. He looked at the water. The light was gone now. The surface was dark and still. He thought about a man who had come home late every night because the work was demanding and the responsibility was real. He thought about how that man never got to rest. Bimpe Adeyemi was charged with culpable homicide. The recording was entered as evidence. The lawyer she hired said there was little he could do with what was in it. She maintained in the cell that she had not meant for it to happen. Perhaps she believed that. 3 months later, a police holding facility. Bimpe lies on a thin mattress. She is sick, something in her chest, the doctors say. Distress, they say. Old age catching up. A female officer enters.
Your son is here. Tell him I don't want to see him. He said to give you this.
She places a folded note on the mattress and leaves. Bimpe lies still for a long time. Then she picks up the note. Tunde's handwriting. I don't hate you. I never hated you. But I couldn't carry Dad's grave in silence anymore. I hope you find peace, wherever it comes from. Tunde. Bimpe closes her eyes. Her hand holding the note drops to the mattress. 7 months after her arrest, she died in custody, a heart condition that had not been diagnosed. It moved fast. They told Tunde on a Thursday afternoon. He said thank you to the officer on the phone. He sat in his office for a long time after. Then he drove to the cemetery where his father was buried. He did not bring flowers. He just stood there. He stood there until it was dark. Some people destroy what they love, trying to protect it. And some things, once broken, do not heal. They only become visible. Moral lessons. 1. Fear can destroy the very thing you were trying to protect. 2. What you do in secret always finds a witness. 3. The person you sacrifice everything for may be the one who holds you accountable. 4. Insecurity is a poison. It does not only kill the one you give it to. 5. You cannot build a safe home on someone else's broken destiny.